What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to this channel where today I'm wanting to start like this new series where I would like to review language learning apps, and today I have LingQ. If there are other language learning apps you'd like to see me do or cover in the future in this kind of format, in this style, let me know. I've already got some ideas in my head anyway, but let me know down in the comment section below, and I can prioritize certain apps over others if there are any that are really popular and that you'd like to see me talk about. But in today's video we will be talking and looking at LingQ. I'll be trying to do my best to show you how LingQ works and the reasons why I personally really enjoy LingQ, and basically the main ways that I use LingQ in order to learn my languages and just to study languages in general. So first of all, here we have the homepage of LingQ, and please bear in mind that I normally use LingQ on my mobile. I rarely use it on the desktop app because of convenience and because if I'm out and about, obviously don't have my laptop with me. So I use it way more on my phone than I do on my laptop. Possibly if I was to use it on my laptop, I could be a little bit more engaged because just the way things are when I'm on my phone, I get distracted quite easily. But besides the point, just bear in mind I'm a little bit new to this layout on the laptop. It's a little bit more formal. And I think on the laptop or desktop or whatever you'd like to call it, there are more features than you can access on your phone. But we'll just go through with it anyway and see how we go. Here I've got my Polish page up right now, and as you can see up here in the top right hand corner, I've got 13,757 next to my Polish flag, and that is the number that corresponds to the amount of words that I've said that I've marked off as known. So when I mark off words as known, I normally mark them off as known when I can understand what that word is in context with the text around it, not necessarily words that I can recall from my memory, but obviously you can mark them off as known based on whatever preference you have, as I'll be showing you in a minute. First of all, I just want to show you this homepage. I want to show you the amount of languages that this app has to offer, because that's one of the main things I think is when you look at a language learning app, what languages are there on offer? LingQ has, you can see all these languages. I'm not going to read them out. And the number in the brackets, as I just said, are the amount of words that I've marked off as known. So for example, in Japanese, I've marked off 1,350 words as known. And that number just continues to grow as you read more and more in these languages. Spanish being my top language at the moment with 21,000. And yeah, as we scroll through this list, you'll see the languages get a little bit lower with most of them because all of my main languages are just up there at the top. But yeah, you can see it's got so many different languages on here, different language groups, and there's a couple more if I add language. There's a couple more here that I haven't ever really studied, and maybe in the future I will, but these are obviously languages that I've never just got around to wanting to read in or study at this point in time. But there are obviously these ones down here as well. Because I've been using LingQ now for about 2 years, maybe even a bit longer than that, I know that just in 2022 alone they added in Armenian, Icelandic and Tagalog, and the fact that I added in 3 new languages just within last year shows me that they still care about the app and they still update it whenever they can, and they're always working on it. Not to mention that the user face in general, just the way that the app looks, again in 2022 completely changed to what they call LingQ 5.0, I think is what they call it, and it's just a completely different user face in terms of how it looks. There is so much more content on here, or easier to find at least, compared to the old LingQ or the way it was laid out. So I'm just going to scroll through this homepage and show you like all the content you can see here. And if you don't already know, LingQ is an app which is focused purely on reading and listening. So all of these on here, you're going to be opening up a bit of text when you click on something on here, and then you'll just read through it and you'll listen to it, and yeah, basically over time you just start to understand the language better by reading and getting grammar naturally and all that kind of thing. But the main point of this app is to read and listen as much as you can. And as you can see here, if we go back up a bit, you've got like Netflix, for example, that are just on here. So you can, I think on certain things like this, you actually also have the video to watch as well, but also you'll have the text to read, so you can read what they say. News articles here, you have business, you have sports, you have technology, you have pronunciation, grammar, health, science, culture, etc. You can see all of these, and it just keeps going and going. Food is actually a pretty big one, you know, for like Japanese, for example, and there's other cultures, like if I was to study Indian languages on this app, like Gujarati, or I think, what else do they have? Like other Indian languages on here, then food would be a big one because I enjoy like Indian food, for example. I enjoy Japanese food. There's certain cultures where food is quite a big part of what you would want to learn, at least for me personally. And so like it's cool how they just have like this whole section just for food, as well as language and videos and songs in French. I was able to find some really cool songs just when I was studying French on this app, and they're songs that I listen to on a daily basis almost now. And finally at the bottom here, lifestyle, and you can like click on courses, for example, and it will give you a whole bunch of courses, as well as whatever else you want. So we'll go back up to the top. More recently, you can see here I've been studying like these things, which are like basically easy to read stories. They're not too difficult for me. And what I wanted to do is basically, I haven't been studying Polish all too much on LingQ in recent months because of traveling and like basically studying other languages. And so I've just been sort of dialing it back a little bit, trying to get back into Polish properly by reading more simple and easier stories. So, for example, Głodny Krokodyl, if we go over to there, we have just this one page because it's a very short story, and we just have some text, and this is basically after I've already read it. There's only one word on here that I've highlighted as like a underline, and that's basically to say that I'm almost there with that word, but not quite. And if we highlight nagle, it will say suddenly is the translation. So you have these different stages of knowing a word. It goes from new, recognized, familiar, learned, and then known. So all the rest of the words on this page are marked off as known. I'm pretty confident that when I read this in context, I can understand enough of the context, for these words to make sense to me. Sometimes maybe a word you'll know and then later on you'll find it in a different context and then it will mean something different. So then maybe you might want to go back and change it from like a number 4 status to a number 3 status. For example, again, nagle, you can go, all right, I've learned it, but actually I see it in a different context and now I want to change it back to familiar because now it means not only suddenly, but it may also mean something else. You can also highlight whole sentences. Highlight the whole sentence, it will tell you, or even easier than highlighting the whole sentence and getting that would be to go down to the middle at the bottom here, sentence view, and you can go translate sentence. Once there was a very hungry crocodile, and you can start from the beginning if you wanted to, but I already know that means hungry crocodile. Here, he searched for food slowly and quietly, and you get the idea. You can go sentence by sentence on these short stories, really get an idea of what each sentence translates to, and then you can break down even more into each word. I will now show you on, where have we gone? Yeah, okay, back here. I'll now show you on something that I've never read before to show you what it looks like when you've opened up a new text for the first time. I'm just going to open up a random one here. I'm going to open up this one here. Okay, so here you can see we've imported this article into LingQ, and that was from the homepage of LingQ. And you can see I've got a mix of words that are just already marked off as known. We've got a mix of words that are new, which are highlighted in blue. We've got a mix of words that are yellow, which I've already seen, but I don't know what they mean. And then we've got a mix of slightly less yellow, which means that they're like number 3 or number 2 maybe. They're in the middle. I've seen them. I sort of know what they mean, but probably not quite. And so, yeah, as I look at this, there's a whole bunch of words here that I've just never seen before. Although I'm pretty sure I've seen this word before. I don't know what it means, but exaggeration, for example. So we can then click on whichever translation we want, basically. I'm going to click just exaggeration for now. And the idea is basically you try your best to like read through it. Something like this probably a little bit too difficult for my level, but I can look at this and I can, okay, spotty catch, which I'm pretty sure means to meet, if I'm not mistaken. Here we go, meet. Or if you wanted to look at other translations, you can also open it up and you have all of these different translations from the community as well. But I know what this means. It means to meet. And so we're going to go over to the tick, which means to know. And then that's changed. And that's an extra word that I know in Polish. It's gone from what I previously didn't know into a word that I now just know because of other texts that I've read, I guess, and I just understand that word. And yeah, for sakes of like just showing you bits and bobs, like, I'm looking at other words here. Does this one mean family? So I'm going to mark it off as known. Absolutely sounds a little bit like absolutely. Absolute. That's good enough for me. And so you can go through and sort of do your own sort of marking off and things like that. But again, as I say, this text is probably a little bit too complicated for my personal level in regards to the amount of new blue words that there are, as well as the mix of yellow words that I still don't know. So if I was to read this, every other word I'd be looking up saying, okay, what does this word mean? What does that word mean? And so I want to try and find lessons that are a little bit more to my level. But I wanted to just open up that lesson really to show you how it looks when you first open it up. And for your very first time, obviously every single word is going to be blue, and when you mark off one blue word for every other text, for every other lesson that you open up, that same word will be marked off as known or yellow or whatever you've marked it off previously. So spotty catch, what I marked off from yellow to known, every time I come across that word on any of these other articles down here, Sparticatch will now be a clear word because I understand what it means. For every single language, LingQ has what they call LingQ Ministories, which are 60 mini stories which they translate into every language which are on the app, which I showed you earlier. And these were amazing. I'm just going to open up one to show you how they're structured. There are multiple pages of text which you can read through, and I've read these ones many times. And yeah, there we go. We completed the lesson, whatever. Many times I've read through it, and basically the way it's structured is that it tells you a short story here. Michael's a chef, basically. He gets up for work every day at a certain time. He goes to work by car, etc. That's essentially what is translated here. Right here, it'll say, now we're going to tell you the same story from a different perspective, or here, the same story told by Michael, and then it will tell you the same story told by a different perspective. So you'd be told by one way, like this is the story of Michael, then it'll be Michael going, this is my story. I get up at a certain time, I work as a chef as opposed to he works as a chef, so then you start seeing words in different forms. For example, we got przygotowuję right here, and if we go over to the other page, it's przygotowuję, but it's the first person sort of way of saying it. That's why it's got the E at the end with the little tail. And you may be able to see other words that like slightly change. Polish and Russian and other languages alike are very much like this. With languages like Spanish, you won't see as many changes with words like this, but you'll still have conjugation and that kind of thing to look out for. This is just a really good way of like learning languages from basics, and every time I start a new language here on LingQ, I will go through these 60 mini stories over a period of time and really try to understand the text. And because they're all the same, when you go from like reading it a whole bunch in Polish, for example, or Spanish, you go over to another language, you know what that text means, it's just you don't know what each individual word means. So when you're told the story a second time, you go over, and then we have, now you'll hear some questions, and then basically it just gives you questions, very basic questions, and the idea is that you just listen to the story again in a question format, and you can answer yes or no, but the idea is that you're just getting more exposure as opposed to getting it right or wrong. Michael drinks coffee. Does Michael drink tea? No, Michael does not drink tea. Michael drinks coffee. So just simple things like that. But when you're hearing it in the language itself, and these mini stories have audio to accompany them as well, so you can listen to the audio and really understand the native speaker at like a slower level. These mini stories are great, and I just wanted to highlight just one of these stories. And there's like I said, there's 60 of them to work your way through, and then next lesson is this one here. I just wanted to highlight that one because I think the mini stories are amazing and they're great for anyone beginning off in the language. They're basically the first thing I do when I go on LingQ in a new language. You can look up your stats. So right here I haven't got anything because I haven't done anything in Polish in the last 7 days. But if we go to just all time, let's stick with known words. You can just quickly see, I'm not going to go too much into this, but I just wanted to show you. You have your stats here, so as you can see, just over time I accumulated words. And you can see when I marked off a whole bunch of words from like this date to over here, and I sort of slowed down a lot over here, and you've got like these graphs here as well. You've got some statistics down here. Links created 16,826 and words known 13,760. With like words learned and lessons completed, and listening hours, 157.4 hours of listening on this app alone. Words read and translations and all the rest of it. There's a lot of really cool things to look into if you enjoy statistics, and over time you can understand statistics of like languages that you're learning. It is cool to look into. Personally, I like to use it for listening hours, words known, and that's basically the two things that I mainly look at. If we come down here, you have like a wall, and this wall basically highlights achievements, and so this will be like for every language. So as you can see here, you have reached 500 links in the monthly LingQ challenge. You have now reached over 5,000 French words. You've now reached over 4,000 French words, and joining certain challenges, 3,000 French words, 2,000, 21,000 Spanish words, 1,000 German words. So you can see as I go through this that you can just cycle through and see when you got these certain badges. It's just a way for you to basically get some badges and like just feel a sense of accomplishment. And so they have it for all sorts of these. Basically every 1,000 words you get for a language, I'll give you a new badge, and it's cool to look at. So that's just basically statistics and other things. And Yeah, you can like come over here and go from like Polish into like, we go into my Spanish, for example. You'll see it's a lot more consistent with the words that I did, whereas with Polish it went a lot more up because there was a big period of time where I just read Polish, Polish, Polish. And again, we come down here and you can see my activity in Spanish in terms of numbers. So it's a really cool thing to look at, and sometimes it is cool just to dive into, especially when you've got a whole bunch of stats just to work your way through. As I just mentioned a second ago, there are challenges here on LingQ. So for example, January challenges are now open. You can join the challenge and then you can have a look at what challenges are available. Normally there's something like this, so I create so many links within a month. You've got a 90-day French challenge or Spanish challenge, Czech challenge, Polish challenge, whatever it may be. You got these challenges in every language, and yeah, they're just like a little extra badge you can earn if you're really like wanting to push yourself a bit more. You got a hardcore 90-day challenge as well, so yeah, you have certain things that you need to reach, and again, it's a cool way of just keeping a motivation maybe on those days that you're down. Personally, I join them every month if I can, if I remember to, but I will never actually reach 90 days of consistency on the app because some days I'm just busy and I don't get time to go on LingQ and read every day. But it's still like interesting and still cool for me to push myself to try and get as many days as I can. So yeah, these challenges are still a cool idea, even if I can't get these badges, because for example 90 days in French, I definitely have not done 90 days consistently, but it doesn't matter, and I'm still like, I can see my progress, and maybe I'm like, okay, I did 50 days out of the 90 days, let me try and do more than that next 90-day period that they do when the next new challenge comes in. Okay, there's just really one more thing I want to talk about with LingQ, and then I feel like I've covered basically the basis of how LingQ works and like what it has to offer. If you can't find what you want on LingQ and you're just like, oh, well, I found this article online, I really want to read it, but I want to read it in the LingQ so I can mark off the words as known, I want to like study the sentences and whatever else I've just shown you. Find your article online via Google. You can use Google Translate to translate from English into your language that you're learning, and then copy and paste that into Google Search it up, find your article. Here I've found 10 cosas que debe saber antes de mudarse a España, and basically it's 10 things to know before you move into Spain. And basically there's a decent sized article right here. You know, there's a fair bit of text, and I would like to import this into LingQ so I can read this in LingQ as opposed to this article. If you have the LingQ extension on your computer like I have over here, you can click it and it will go the title right there, the language you translate it into, obviously it's Spanish, and then import into what? So I've imported a lot, so I've got like all of these different things here. You know, I've got like, for example, Squid Game from when I was reading Squid Game articles when that was a big thing, and I've got like some of these other things like Casa de Papel and whatever else. This is basically travel. I'm going to put it into travel. You can add tags if you want. I never add tags, but if you want to add tags, you can do. I think it just makes it easier for you to find these articles when they're imported into there. But I'm just going to add it into travel and press import. It'll take a second or two, and then it will say importing done, hopefully. And then you'll be able to open up the lesson. Here we go. Done. Open lesson. And it opens straight up into LingQ. And we'll close that, and here we go. 10 things to know before moving to Spain. And as you can see here, most of my words are known, but there's a couple words that maybe I don't know. Exitosos, for example, I think is like achievement or challenge or something. I think it's achievement, or successful. So achievement, successful, it's a little bit different, so I can move that to familiar. And then next time I see it, I'm like, okay, I thought I knew it before. I've got it on familiar, which means that I already gave it a guess. It's not quite right. It must be like a synonym or something. And that's the way I mark it basically. And then you got these other words here. Investigan is they investigate. So I can mark that off as known. And you can just do that and move page by page. I'm just going to quickly mark off these ones. Okay, so here I've highlighted two words, por capricho, which means on a whim. I didn't know that meant on a whim, and so I'm going to mark it, and now I've got a little phrase marked off, and then you can press it, por capricho, on a whim. That's a cool little saying if you need to say on a whim. If you remember por capricho, yeah, so you can go through and find these little phrases inside your text as well, and just mark off like a phrase as a word, if you will, as well. So you can definitely do that as well. On to the next page, and you got some more, and then I'm not going to go through each and every page, but you get the idea. The reason that I had to mark them off first is because I've got it on the settings so that whenever I move to the next page, all of the blue words will automatically change into known. I just prefer it like that. You can turn it off if you don't want to, but that's the idea. You can import any article from any web page, as far as I'm aware, from any web page into LingQ and study it exactly like this. And the idea is, again, you would read through every word properly as if you're reading the actual article in your own native language. So you start from here and you just read, and the idea is you just read, you come across a word you don't know, and then maybe you understand it from context. This I really like, because I quite like some Netflix series. What I have right here, it's Alice in Borderland Season 2, Episode 1, which I'm about to get started with, hopefully with my Japanese. Right here you can see like I have it in Japanese audio with English subtitles because I want to actually understand it. Again, my Japanese really isn't that great for me to read in Japanese in regards to like watching, but I could still study it into LingQ. And also, by the way, look at all of these languages that they offer here on Netflix. Like, Netflix are offering Hungarian and Thai and Turkish and Filipino, for example. That's really cool. I didn't actually realize that Netflix had as many languages. I've always only seen like these. These are definitely new languages that I'm seeing right now. So fair play to Netflix. Look at all of these subtitled languages. If you wanted to import your lesson, whether it's Alice in Borderlands or whether it's any series on Netflix, all you have to do is similar sort of thing with what I just did with my article. Come over to this extension over here, open it up. Alice in Borderlands Season 2, Episode 1. We want to import it into my Japanese. Import into LingQ. It's imported the Japanese, and you've got obviously all of these words that you can look through and click on. Kenji, which I think is a name. So you got like all these words you can look into and just click and go as you will. So I just wanted to really show you guys, the way that you can import series and articles from outside sources into LingQ. It was very easy. I basically did it right here in front of you guys, and I'm just looking at these now. I don't know really any of these Japanese words. There's obviously so many Japanese words that I don't know, and these are probably going to be too difficult for me. Like you see here, next page, and we've got all these like words that we can like look through per page, and there's 71 pages if we go through like this. So obviously it's quite a long piece, but each page doesn't have that much text, so you can just work your way through it. You can press the X and then come back to it another time, and yeah, you can see it right there in my continue to study area. I've got all of these others as well. If we click the button going across, it's just all these Japanese stories and bits and bobs that at one point or another I'll look into maybe. To my knowledge, at least for me personally, that's how I use LingQ, and that's everything that I feel like I could cover with LingQ. If there's anything with LingQ particularly that you use it for and you're like, oh, you completely miss this like big thing about the app, please let me know in the comment section below. I can always do a follow-up of this video talking more about LingQ. Like I say, it's one of my favorite language learning apps. It really helps in regards to learning a language and absorbing a language naturally through immersion, through reading, and just through seeing things in the right way that they're meant to be written, seeing things in context, essentially seeing grammar in context, as opposed to just reading rules and trying to remember stupid amounts of rules that you will never ever remember. Honestly, like, my languages aren't the greatest. Like, I'll admit, like, I've even my Spanish, I've still got like loads of work to do, but my languages wouldn't be at the point that they are at the moment if it weren't for LingQ. And that's just straight up the truth. My Spanish just would not be as good as it is now without LingQ. It takes hundreds of hours to read all of this and to listen, but eventually you'll just pick up the language. So it is an app that you need to put in a lot of effort into, for sure. It's not something that is just going to be gamified and fun for you to use. Obviously, some of the downfalls that I would say is, like, for example, it's not the most fun. But if you find fun in reading and if you enjoy reading, then this is a really good app for you to use. If you don't like reading, if you don't enjoy it, I don't really know what to suggest, because it's one of the greatest ways to learn languages, in my opinion. It's a great way to learn grammar without having to learn grammar. It's a great way to learn new vocabulary without putting too much stress and strain into trying to understand every single word and into trying to make flashcards and going over and over, because flashcards, in my opinion, don't really work. It's a great way to learn phrases like I literally picked up earlier with the phrases that I picked up on. And yeah, overall, I think it's one of the greatest language learning apps out there. And you do have to pay for it. I should have probably mentioned that earlier. I pay like £10 a month or something. It's very cheap for the amount that I use it and for the amount of languages on offer. Again, showing you all of these languages. And that's basically what I wanted to show you with Link. Again, anything that I've missed out, let me know in the comment section down below, and please let me know what you thought of the video. If there's anything you didn't like, again, let me know. I'm always happy to adjust my style of videos and editing and that kind of thing. You know, if you guys prefer a certain thing. I just wanted to make this video really to show off Link and features that I really enjoy about this app and what helps me so much to learn a new language. Again, like my Polish, for example, would not be anywhere near as advanced, I guess, or as good as it is now without this app. So yeah, huge props to Link. And yeah, if you're wondering about Link, then here you go. If you'd like to know anything more that I haven't covered, again, ask me in the comment section. I'm more than happy to reply to you and answer any questions that I could answer further. Thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate all of you for watching. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video for whatever else I decide to release. Until then, have a great day and peace out.